Okay, it looks like everything is rolling just fine. I hope. Yeah, there it is. I see it on screen now. We're good. Hello, everyone. Welcome to OreAni for our Spring 2000. Oops, I put 32. Spring 2000 or Spring 2023 lineup, not 32. My bad there. Um, with us we have our wonderful friends, like always. Starting with Jessica over there on the left.
Hello there.
We got the baseball head, Vinny.
Thank you for having me.
And always the etchy dragon.
Hello, hello.
And myself. So, hopefully Albert will be joining us a little bit later. And we did get to hear a little bit from Nick Kaz in our Discord. He's probably going to try to join us in the future, hopefully. His schedule's changed, so we're excited to hear from Nick again. Hopefully you come back to us soon. It's been almost over a year, right?
Yeah.
Or more, yeah.
Yeah, so hopefully we can get to see you and talk to you about anime. Hear all the exciting things you have to say. Other than that, let's go ahead and get started on this. We're going to start with our little first title. Oops. Get rid of that one. Starting, we're going to go in alphabetical order of what we've all seen here. So starting first is Boku no Kokoro no Yabai Yatsu, also known as The Dangers in My Heart, which is a high dive show. And who wants to get started on this? No one?
Go for it, Dragon.
I can start. It's anime about like how would you call him? Would you call him like maybe like
Troubled?
I guess troubled, right? So it's about like a troubled teen who just like doesn't like really fit in, I guess, with like the main crowd. And he kind of just has these like fantasies, like dark fantasies. And one person that he like absolutely despises is this like popular girl. What was her name? Yamada, right? Yeah. So he despises this popular girl named Yamada, and mostly because like she's got like tons of friends. Everyone likes her, and like even like I think they're in middle school, right? Or are they in high school?
Middle school.
Okay, yeah, they're in middle school, and she's already like a model on like magazines, and he just absolutely despises her, and like literally in the first episode, he's like, "I want to kill her," but this is a very like kind of progressive of like like just like kind of like young love, and he starts opening up to her because she starts invading his like his like kind of comfort zone of being in the library. And it's just a very cute and like funny show. There is like occasional portions of like kind of like dirty stuff just because he's just a young kid and going through like different emotions, but it's just super cute, and I've just been having a joy watching it.
Mm-hmm. Now, when a dragon says dirty stuff, it's not necessarily like, I would say, fan service dirty. It's more or less the talk from the other students and their perverted antics. Like, I love girls with big breasts, and they're just always talking about certain things like that and such.
Yeah, and it's like they're trying to get more like dirty information out of the girls by like trying to like do like different like games.
Yeah, so like by going through websites, they find out, if a girl tries to open your hand a certain way, it means they like certain positions. It's just immature stuff, right?
It's just like super like immature, like dirty kid stuff.
But overall, with the exception of all that stuff that does happen quite a bit, I believe, it's been a very, very pleasant show. Although the boy starts off in this very dark place in his mind, he tends to kind of go back to it because he just doesn't understand his feelings. And it's kind of fun watching his growth. And it also is kind of cringe at moments where you're like, oh, come on. You can kind of understand a little bit of his angst uh, in some areas, which makes it give you that little cringe worthiness of it. But overall, it's been very enjoyable show. And one thing that surprised me, which I didn't know at the start, and as I watched and listened to it, I noticed that it sounded a lot like a Silent Voice soundtrack, and found out it was actually composed by the same person who did the Silent Voice, and of course, Liz and the Bluebird. So it's got that wonderful background music going throughout the back, and it really goes well with the show. Do you have anything to add, Vinny?
No, not really. I mean, if you're a fan of series like Kubo-san, then this is pretty much right up in your alley to watch. It has a similar sort of high school lighthearted drama components to it. So, if you like those type of show, give it a shot.
Yeah. But very wonderful show, in my opinion. Next up, we have. Let me get this title card. I'm running a little bit behind here. What is this called? Death Play?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Dead Mount Death Play.
What is this? I don't even know what this is. I haven't seen any of this.
No.
No.
Let's see. It starts off with your typical sort of fantasy, final boss battle between the good and evils. You got this, hero character battling at this skeletal overlord type. And at the very last moment when they make impact, scene disappears and we are transformed into modern day, Japan, some city area. I believe it's Tokyo, but I could be wrong. And then this boy is all of a sudden targeted by assassin who's hell-bent on killing him, and he has no idea as to why. And he was slain, and then at the end of his moment, he realized that he's not the boy, but he was the person from that medieval fantasy setting place that he was isekai into. From there, the modern world sort of soul kind of got sucked and integrated into his body. So he uses his newly found knowledge from other world to vanquish his assassin. And the twist is that it wasn't the hero that got isekai into this body, except instead it was the demon overlord, the skeletal, the undead being that was actually sucked into this body of the boy. And that's the twist. And then it kind of ventures into how his exterior body really does not match his inner thinking, where all he wanted to do is just live a quiet, secluded, peaceful life, but because of the way he is, made it basically impossible for him to just live peacefully, and that became his fuel for vengeance that turned him into this demon overlord that battles the hero. But back to the current setting, where he doesn't know how it happened. He doesn't know if his soul can be, brought back to the original world. So he'll just have to make to do until he figure out what's going on and get the bearings of this world. And then he took a little bit of pity on the assassin that he just killed, so he kind of resurrect, or rather, turn her into zombie, and they become sort of a partner in crimes in this hodgepodge sets of crime syndicate, kind of a hire, assassin for hire that he kind of looped into doing their biddings and try to figure out what to do with this world. Well, that's the general premises of this series so far.
Hmm.
It's just surprisingly gruesome. And it's pretty bizarre at times, especially the assassin that killed him first time. She's pretty much a nutcase so far. And the third person, who's a drone operator, he seems to be the straight man who kind of plays the buffer to keep things a little bit saner between those two insane characters that's going on.
Anything to add, Dragon?
Not really, since I haven't continued it after that first episode.
Just watch it your spiel, or
So, I mean, I guess I also found it really interesting, and I was thinking about maybe trying to continue it, but it was just because I was so behind on like a lot of other animes that I wanted to watch. I haven't continued it, but it does seem interesting because of that twist being that like, oh, it wasn't the hero that came back; it was the thing that the hero was fighting.
okay. I have to say, I just saw the GIF Vinny's posting. Where did you get that for the Dangers of My Heart? You gotta send that to me.
Oh, that I just searched for GIF and that came up.
I haven't seen that in the show, so I wonder where that came from. But next up, let's go to our Isekai show. Right?
What's the title?
I'm trying to open it now. Here we go. There it is. Otaku Elf, or Edomai Elf, which is an isekai. A bit reverse isekai, right?
It's an isekai in very rudimentary ways. It's more like a historical lesson, if anything.
Isn't this like your passion show right now, Vinny? Or
Oh yeah, I love this show. I accidentally just bumped into this series manga, and so that was back when they only had 2 volumes published. I think it's up to 4 now, and I just couldn't stop reading. And the reason being is that yes, the setting is that there's a small shrine that's about 400 years old in the corner of the Tokyo, in the residential area, and there resides a living deity who's been overseeing that shrine and Tokyo for over 400 years. Except that that goddess that they house is not actually a goddess, but it's an elf that kind of crossed over into our world, summoned by Tokugawa, one of the great shogun, unifying the 3 warring era of the 1500s. And that elf doesn't have any of a magical quality that's worth of being a supernatural being, but she does have a lifespan of eternity as a typical elf. When you think about elf in this fictional setting, they tend to live forever, like thousands of years, and this is one of those cases where she will outlive anything and everything. And another quirk is that she's very much a shut-in. That she likes to stay homebody in her room, collect the figures and play with video games and like to snack on all those junk food and limited edition food stuff that she can order through the online. So she's very much of a
And
otaku, hence why the title's Otaku Elf.
So
And go ahead.
I just wanted to remark on the whole word of using otaku, because a lot of people, when you hear otaku, especially I think in US, we always think
Mhm.
anime otaku, but it doesn't seem like she's a big or anime influence in this show. It's more gaming and like these other limited things, right?
Right. I mean, yeah, she's more obsessed with the collectibles and video games. So she shows that this random collection of old glass bottles that she finds fascinating. And the interesting and funny part of this is that because she's a pretty much immortal, her timeline is greatly different from the rest of us. So when she's collecting something, it's not a matter of a couple years or decade or two. We're talking about hundreds of years. So oftentimes it becomes an interesting historical perspective lessons of back in 1800s, around the Edo era. She'll talk about how these poster things that they used to give out, it was a new trend, and she'll often talk about things that nobody really thinks about, or she will often talk about something that became the origin of what became current trend.
Yeah.
It works with the food settings, all the knickknacks, and it's that interesting tidbit that kind of gets you very motivated to watch more and more because you just don't know what kind of things she will say next. That's kind of oh my god, that's the things from that era that nobody knew about.
I never really thought of that, but I guess you are correct in the sense that it does teach you quite a bit about a lot of Japanese things. Like we recently learned about lanterns, right, and why they had the emblems on them.
Right.
So
Emblems. Yeah, and then she always puts her own unique spin of especially in that case of a lantern where everybody will have a greeting since people have a hard time identifying who's who, and she'll put down, "Oh, don't mind me," as in I'm just going my own way, don't look at me kind of thing, which is a very much her character.
yeah. So what was it? She kind of equated the lanterns back in the day to our today's business cards, right?
Yes. Yeah, that was when they're doing the processions, overnight procession to introduce a new Miko. And she was talking about how everything was much darker back then. And it wasn't until the proliferation of candles, and that's when people started to walk around and late at nighttime with a lantern. And since it was pretty dim, that they had to improvise a ways to readily be able to identify each other instead of having to go right up against each other and be surprised by or spooked by it. Uh, so yeah, there's a lot of those things that's happening on each episode, which I find it very fascinating.
Yeah, but I'm all with her in the whole collectible sense. Like we got to get that limited time stuff, right?
Yeah.
You want to add anything, Dragon, or should we move on to the next one?
um, I guess the only thing I'll add is that I've also just been enjoying having a laugh and seeing like all her like kind of like what you call it, like homebody behavior, because it's just like I do that. Like I'm a homebody. I'll just like sit on my computer all day, or like I'll just like be doing something at home and not want to leave at all.
Oh, Albert came in. I'm sorry. Albert's covering Dragon now. I got to move him. Welcome, Albert.
Thanks. Keep going.
So, anything else about
Well,
Dragon? Or
that's about it for me.
yeah, I think we should. This should be it for this one. I do have to mention though the ending credits or the ending for the show is really really fun and unique. Where they have like actual pictures of a room with the characters drawn in a way to fit it, and it blends really well in a lot of the scenes. And if you have a chance, just check out that ending video, and it's really fun to watch. So continuing on with the, I guess, isekai trend, right? We got this other isekai, which is isekai cheat show. Another world, right? Or give me a moment. This is gonna be hard for me. Isekai de cheat skill wo te ni shita ore wa genjutsu sekai o mo moso suru level up wa jinsei wo kaeta. Also known as I got a cheat skill in another world and became unraveled in the real world too.
Good job. Good job.
I'm getting better. I'm getting better a little bit.
It's a tongue twister if you have to say that again.
Oh yeah, there's no way. I'm just gonna call it cheat skill from now on. But then again, that it kind of describes all of the isekais out there almost. But this show is of course your run of a mill isekai, right? There's you got your, but rather than being transported to another world and staying there, this is another one of like those that one we had was it 2 seasons ago or last season with the girl that can transfer between the
I
different
think
worlds,
that
right?
was the 80,000 gold one, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the last
I
season.
think that was last season.
Yeah, last season. So here's another one where, but rather than just her you thinking about it, he has to actually go through a door that he found in a house that he inherited from his grandfather. And as a child growing up, I guess because of how he looked and such, he was looked down by his parents and his family members quite often, and kind of has this inferiority complex and has low self-esteem because of how he looks and everything. But his grandfather was always there for him and always supported him and taught him to be nice and everything. So all that teachings from his grandfather and then going into another world and leveling up has changed his body to now match, I guess, the super beautiful standards of their world. So now he's this ikemen, right? And,
Yeah.
and he's also really strong, and he's gained a lot of skills that he's able to bring with him into the other world. And as such, he's now discovering new things, meeting new friends, meeting new people, while also having to confront his old life. So it's okay. I've read the manga and I like the manga. It was a fun read, but as the anime goes, it's not so well done, I think. And it's hard to get into. And of course, you got Kirito's voice actor, right? I think it's the main guy.
Mm. Yeah.
So you got that thing going again. So you got to hear him with all of his all stuff. But overall, I think it's a decent show. If you're into isekais, you'll probably enjoy it. But other than that, there's really nothing to really write home about this. How about you guys? What do you feel?
It's your typical, underdog loser became struggled with the isekai things, and just everything started to fall on your pieces. It's your typical isekai escapism fantasy, more or less.
Yeah, I feel the same way, Vinian. Like, I don't know. I wasn't like too particularly like intrigued. Like, I've seen like a clip here and there before. I'm like, that seems like okay, but like, would I like full on watch it? Probably not.
I think the thing that bothers me the most is the character design in the anime. It looks nothing like a light novel. I never read the manga, so I don't know how different it is from it. But all the characters in anime weirdly reminds me of some of the older hentai game characters. I don't know why, but that's how it reminds me of, especially their eyes, and that kind of bugs me.
I have no idea about hentai characters, but I say they pretty match the manga character designs really well.
Okay.
But other than that, like I said, there's really nothing else about the show that's really that amazing, except for the fact that I think it overpassed what translated chapters there are. So we'll finally be able to get to learn more of the story, because I think this releases a chapter like every 3 months or so. And it looks like next up is another crazy isekai. I don't want to say trash isekai, but crazy. Is this one isekai one turn kill Nesan, or my one hit kill sister. And it's trying to, a lot of people, are trying to compare it with that multi-hit Mamako, whatever her name was, right? Show where the
Mamako.
where the partner's really really strong while the main character isn't. And of course, with the whole infatuation of the older sister to her younger brother, it's kind of on par with that. I wouldn't say it's on par with the mother, because the mother, I think, wasn't so bad as the sister in this show. But the boy is using his sister to up his fame and to use her to rise into the ranks of the Adventurous Guild, while trying to keep it secret as well, because he doesn't want people to know that he's actually really weak. And it's just a bunch of really dumb antics that happen in all of the episodes. And eventually we meet this new character, which is Calamaria. And she's like one of the only characters that's on par with the sister. And there's like this kind of rivalry that we're now seeing on every single episode, where they kind of meet up with each other, want to fight, and so forth. And I have no idea where this show is really going. It hasn't really put us in a main direction or anything like that yet. It's just showing us the world, showing us how they're going to try to survive. Other than that, I have no idea what to say about this show. What about you, Dragon?
I think what would put it perfectly for me is what we like said before when on one of the episodes, which is like this is one of those like kind of shows where it's just like almost like stupid fun. Like it should just like kind of turn your brain off. Like you're not really there for like like story. You're just there to like just kind of like watch it for for fun. And I think that's practically sums it up, because the more if I like look at it, I'm just kind of like I'm not like too interested. But if I just like focus on like all the funny bits, then like I just have a good time basically.
I see. And then, of course, it looks like Vinny dropped it, right?
Yeah, I dropped it. One episode was enough.
All right. So let's go to the next title. So we went through 2 isekais, right? So let's go to this 3rd isekai, which is summoned to another world for a second time. So this is another isekai with an with a strange premise. I've actually didn't realize this, but I've read this manga before back in the day, so I'm not too caught up on it. But of course, this boy, the whole class, rather than a single individual, gets transported to another world to help save the world. But one of the boys realizes that this is the world he's been in before, and this is the world that he saved. And it's probably only been like 5 years since he was last summoned, but he's already been reborn and has a whole new life in this other world. And when he confronts the people he knows there and proves that it's him, he decides to set out on a journey on his own to try to fix the problem, because back in the day when he first saved the world, he saved it not by defeating the demon lord, but by creating a truce where there was going to be peace between the two races. And now that's broken, so he's trying to figure out why it was broken and how he could try to fix everything in a way that there's harmony between the races rather than discord. So now he's out on his journey to try to solve that. Other than that, he's pretty OP because he's already been in that world. He knows how to use his abilities, like some other shows. And I don't know what else to say about the show. I don't think it's really all that unique or interesting, but it's been okay. At least there's not a lot of CG monsters or that you would see in other shows. And it seems that Vinny and Albert dropped this, right? Was it your guys' thing as well?
I watched part of it, and yeah, dropped it. It didn't seem to be anything special. Also, the way he convinced people that it was him, because he was reborn, right? So it's not him, but they readily agreed that it was him all of a sudden, and it just was not very well set up, I thought. So kind of lazy writing all over.
They kind of do a better explanation of that in the manga. So I kind of understood more or less about why it was happening, while the anime didn't explain that all too well, like you said. There's a lot of things that they've kind of changed compared to the manga versus the anime. And I think if you really want to be into this and you want to enjoy it, you're probably better off reading the manga than the anime. But other than that, let's continue on. I'm going to skip Smartphone because Smartphone we've talked about before. This is just season 2 of it. It's your trash isekai that I love, and I'm going to keep on watching it. So we'll let you guys know how it is at the end. But it's just continuing from where we left off. So if you haven't seen the first season, you need to watch that before you continue to the second. So next up is a title that I'm kind of interested in because I have no idea what it's about. Is Jigokuraku, or also known as Hell's Paradise. I have no idea what this is. What is this, guys?
Who's watching it?
I am.
I am as well.
It's pretty cool. Do you like ninjas? Do you like death battles? Do you like really creepy mobs with human faces? If so, this is the show for you. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Cool ninjas fighting for survival on a cursed island where they're competing to find the elixir of life for the shogun. And if they are successful, then their crimes will be pardoned. So it's not just ninjas, I guess. It's a bunch of criminals and whatnot. But but the animation's pretty cool, and the character designs are creative. I don't know. I really like it. It's gory. That's probably why I like it. Dragon, what do you think about it?
I've been enjoying. I think the animation studio that's working on it is Mappa, and
Mhm.
because of that, it looks like gorgeous.
It
And
does.
and the gore, like, I'm gonna sound so like weird because it's gore, but like it just looks so good. I'm just like, I just love the way that they animated the gore. And I'm just like,
Mhm.
I need more. And then so I actually have started reading the manga just because I got tired of waiting to see what happens in the next episode. So I just started reading the manga to see what happens. I'm just like, I can't wait to like see it all animated. And it's just, pure gory fun.
Yeah, totally. And there is a little bit of an emotional core where the main character is Gabimaru, which is a pretty stupid name, but he he's married, and his wife basically was undoing a lot of the, I guess you could say, training and toxicity that the ninja clan had put him through. So he's known as Gabimaru the Hollow because he feels nothing. And so he gets married to the chief's daughter, and she sort of slowly, through her healing hands, I guess, teaching him what it means to be a person and loving others. And so, of course, she's under threat. And so that's kind of why he's on the island, because he's so badass, he could probably just bounce from the island, no problem. Um, but yeah, it's got a lot of things going. Like Dragon said, it looks absolutely gorgeous. And I really like it and look forward to it every week.
Nice.
Albert, I see you dropped it. Want to tell us why?
Yeah,
Albert?
I just wasn't quite interested in a battle royale setting this time around. So there are some things that I do know about this that piqued my interest after I dropped it. So the island that they end up in, there's another faction there, and they are Chinese, and so it's an interesting look at the Japanese going to this island where there's already a Chinese faction, and their mythology, is different. So it's an Asian culture looking at a different Asian culture's mythology, and the faction there, they're Taoists. So there's this complex cultural clash also that's supposed to happen. So I might pick it up at some point, but at this point I'm so backlogged. So,
Not a high priority.
yeah. It just didn't pique my interest enough after the first. So that's why. But I understand it is very pretty. It is Mappa. It's pretty. The action's great, and the atmosphere and the creepiness of the island that I've seen in bits and pieces looks great.
Yeah, I know that animation comes under fire a lot for not being able to scare people or to be inherently horror, but honestly, I find the critters on the island, they terrify me. So it's not just your typical monsters. There's something extremely unsettling about them because they're a pastiche of different animals and human beings, and it just looks wrong on so many levels. So that's another point in its favor for me, anyway.
Nice. I'm probably going to have to check this out. I didn't even know about it. So I was trying to catch up on a bunch of other shows, so that kind of flew under my radar. I'm going to have to definitely check that out next. The next title we got, surprisingly, no one's watching, but I guess it's understandable, is a show called Jijo wo Shinranai Tenkosei ga Gui Gui Kuru? Or it's translated to My Careless First Friend. And I believe this takes place at I don't want to say middle school, but maybe elementary. And this boy is transferred into this new school, and he notices this one classmate is being avoided a lot, and a lot of people are always saying stuff to her like, if you get near her, she'll curse you. She's the Green Reaper, and don't make eye contact. Don't let her anywhere near you. And everyone's always making fun of her and just doing everything to stay away from her. But the transfer boy Tayo is actually really fascinated by this, and he's just this naive kid, I guess you could say, where he believes it and runs up to her. Is like, "Wait, are you really a death god? The Shinigami?" And she's like, "Huh?" And he's like, "That's so cool! Oh my god, just think of what you could do and everything." And he's just so into the occult. I guess from his last school, he met a friend that was into the occult too. So because of this, he's really fascinated with her and always wants to hang out. It's like, oh, if you curse me, that'll be so cool. There's all these things we could, Everyone tries to warn him, saying, you don't want to be near her. This will happen. He's like, what, really? And he's always excited. And it brightens up the girl, Nishimura's day by having him around, of course, with his attitude and everything. And it's just a really nice, wholesome show I would say it's really good for kids and a family. So it's a nice family show this season that you can really enjoy, even if you're not a kid yourself. And if you're looking for something to relax and to just get rid of all that bad stuff that may have happened, this is a very wholesome show that can kind of has some uplifting moments that makes you it's one of those I believe in humanity once again types of thing. So it has that going for it, and it's just I can't wait to see how this friendship continues on. Maybe other classmates will start joining them. Who knows? But right now it's just those two, and we'll see how it continues on from there with all the other classmates if they'll open up to her later on. But other than that, shall we move on? If you guys have any questions? Nope.
I didn't even notice this. I'll definitely have to check it out, and because it sounds really cute.
Oh,
It is a good show. Although if you want to dig a little hard, it kind of brings up the whole issues of bullying, which is not exactly the pleasant topic to deal with. But the fact that this friend is so oblivious or just so single-handedly fixed by the whole curse of all that they're using to bully, and he found it to be such a fascinating power that he was able to basically gloss over a lot of things that's kind of lurking around.
Oh, sorry, Vinny. I didn't see you saw this. I thought you didn't highlight it.
I just fell a little behind, but I was watching it. But you cover more or less everything, so.
Yeah, it's a great show. I say, especially if you have, like I said, teens or younger adults. I think it's a nice show to watch with them. Though the next show, this is definitely not a kid's show. It's another isekai, but it's one of those crazy isekais. What's the show called again? Kami naki sekai no kami-sama katsudo. Working for God in a godless world.
That first episode is nuts.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I'll let you take the lead, Vinny.
Okay, so the main character it starts it off with his father, who is the leader and the founder of this crazy cult group, straps him down and decides to throw him onto the ocean and basically telling him that if you have a faith in our God, then you will be just fine. And he's thinking, oh my God, my father is about to kill me with this crazy cult nut job ritual. And sure enough, he sinks to the bottom of the ocean. Then he wakes up into another world, except he's not born into different character. He's literally reborn into his whole body and mind and everything. So he's back of his mind thinking, oh my God, this is one of those isekai events thing. Oh my God, I'm gonna have this crazy power, but he doesn't have one. Oh, it's gotta be those video game logic, but there's gotta be the adventure guild, the leveling ups and all that, and turned out there wasn't any. Then while he's doing all this just whatever farmhand work to help out the town that he got chucked into, he slowly finds out that this world is kind of strange in a way that there's no God in this world. There's no notions of deities or higher powers, anything. And then he comes to find out that they also don't believe in natural death of sorts. That there's a powers within the government that make the decisions as to whose time is about to end, and you have to willingly go there and meet your maker. Oh well, except there's no maker. And the town that he is living in was sort of a group of outcasts who got thrown out there for not fitting into all their values, including the notions of willingly die when time was called upon. So his newly found friends was taken away by this government to be executed because it was decided it was their time, and he just couldn't accept the fact that's how the way it should go. And at the desperate moment, he basically begs at this piece of jewelry that he was thrown out with, and turned out that was housing the god that his father and the cult was worshipping, and she granted the miracle to save their life. And then realized that the god that was brought into this world with him was pretty much powerless because nobody in this world knows anything about God or believing in. So now his job is to become the new leader of this cult to bring the worship and the sense of a godness into this god who looks like a lolly character. All right, that's enough out of me.
You have anything to add, Albert? As I think this is the first show you've watched that we're discussing.
Yeah, so there's a couple of things. First, the CG, they use some CG monsters and other CG, and then there's the pet that is always CG. It looks super janky. It looks comically bad. And I think they're doing this on purpose. Because in like episode 3, there's a scene where they just pasted the anime face over a modified live action scene. Okay. So there's that. So, but the rest of the animation is fine. So clearly, they're doing this on purpose, and it feels like they're trolling us on purpose, throwing in these bad CG effects. In terms of the story, there's a couple of really weird things that happen in the first episode. For example, when he arrives in the new world, the girl that finds him is attempting something. It's not CPR. Let me just say, but she's doing something to his body to see if he's alive or not. So that was really weird. And then there's a grape harvest that he helps out with, and no one seems to know what to do with the excess. And so our MC is like, "Wait, you can make wine," and he makes wine out of it. So must be a huge time skip because fermentation doesn't happen immediately. But the villagers since then just get together every night and is completely drunk all the time. So that's a little weird. And then your god that you have, Mitama, is a lolly, but also just really just stupidly dumb, like a child. And she looks like a child, so it tracks. And she also notices, because she made this miracle of saving our MC and the girls, she used up all her power. And when she realized no one follows her in this world, there's a zero mark that she sees in terms of followers. And then she looks over at her MC boy and she's like, "What? Shouldn't I have at least one person that believes in me?" No. So it's a dumb show, no doubt about it. And I feel like the animators are trying us on purpose. And I'm watching it because it is completely dumb. And there are other shenanigans that happen. And then in episode 3, some really weird stuff happens that seems to indicate there's other things going on in this world. It's almost like the world is artificial in some ways. So it's enjoyable in a dumb sense, but it's not an anime I would recommend because there's a lot of questionable things going on. So that's it.
I kind of want to almost say I think this is one of the edgiest shows this season.
I think you're forgetting about the goddesses of the Terrace Cafe.
I haven't seen that, so.
Welcome to that. Oh.
Okay. Let's see. Did you guys want to talk about the Kanojo no Koshakuten? Or Koshakute? Whatever you call that show? Doesn't look like you've watched All Dragon and
I've only
Robert
watched
dropped
one episode, and
Same here.
I don't know. It just seems like one of those like shoujo reincarnations, and it's just like I don't know if I'm gonna continue it. Honestly, it just seems kind of generic to me.
It is very generic. So the main character, I forget her Japanese name. Actually, the original. This is based off of a manhwa, so it's Korean comics, and the studio has also previously adopted another Korean comic called Noblesse. That was the vampire one. Not very good, by the way. So I was interested to see if the Korean take on this otome game genre. It turns out it's not a game, but a novel. But you get the idea. The MC girl is, reincarnated in novel world, and she's not even the main character. She's just a mob character whose death starts the story. Her death is the trigger for the main story. So she knows that she's going to die, and she doesn't want to die. She knows who does it because she read the novel, so she's trying to avoid that fate. And I get what she's doing, but it doesn't seem to be anything interesting beyond that. Right? She ends up going to the Duke and trying to, negotiate with him because she knows, some of the story, backstory. So she's trying to negotiate that she knows things and he needs to protect her. And he's intrigued because he's, hasn't met anyone quite like her. And that's the basic premise. So it's not any different. It's very generic. At least if there was some other, I recently read several other shoujo, trapped in a game or trapped in a novel series, mangas, and they had more interesting premises. So this one was a pass for me because it was very generic. It is pretty, but it's very generic.
All right. So next title. Do you want to talk about this? What is his name? Vinny? The Kawari Sugi Crisis?
No, it's not worth talk about it.
All right. The next up is something Slayer. I don't know what the show is. Demon Slayer? I have to say, I was disappointed with that movie so much. I wish I never went.
True believer will never say that.
So I think we can skip this, right? I mean,
I mean, there's not much to really go about. It's just a continuation of Demon Slayer.
Either you know where to watch that or you don't and you don't care. There's really no in between.
Exactly. Like, I mean, if you've already watched like the last season, why would you not just continue watching it? Or if like it's just one, yeah, it's just as Vinny said, like you are or you aren't watching it. So,
so let's go to the next one, which is how do you say this? Kimi wo Hokago Insomnia,
Mm-hmm.
which is really, really fun and interesting, I think. And for some reason, it gave me what do you call that? I think they were producers. The Noitamina vibe,
Mm.
from like Honey and Clover and stuff like that. As I was watching this, and it's who's seen this? Oh, almost everyone except for Jessica. This is another, I think, high dive stream, so I think that's probably why Jessica hasn't seen it. But it's one of I think, a highly recommended show right now as well.
Hmm.
And I guess I'll just continue on. What can I say? Just it's based off of these high school lives, and surprisingly, it doesn't feel like your typical high school anime show. I would say. It's about this boy. It starts off with the boy, I should say, and he has insomnia. He's having problems sleeping. It describes how he tries to go about trying to sleep and what he does during his time, and how it's affecting his life. And strangely enough, as he's walking around school trying to live his life, and he's actually seems to be kind of a loner person where he's typically by himself, and even a lot of his classmates don't regard him too highly, I would say. And as he's being sent on an errand, he decides to try to sneak away and get some shut eye. And he ends up meeting another person who he finds out through interacting with him in this short moment that they kind of suffer the same fate of the sleep deprivity, and decide that to try to help each other. And I think that's just how it starts off. I think there's I'm kind of missing a lot of information. If anyone wants to continue on. So I am missing the whole observatory thing. I think that actually plays a huge story, right now.
Yeah. So what happens is, he had to get boxes from the observatory, and as he goes in there, he he's like, "Oh, this is a comfortable place," and he starts like trying to like get some rest, and that's when he finds her sleeping there already, and then when he realizes that like a bit embarrassment happens, so she's like trying to pack up really fast and like leave, but then she sees that the door is closed, and then that's when she explains how this door doesn't is broken and doesn't open from the inside of the observatory, and they need to wait for someone outside to open it. And so they kind of just start talking about I guess themselves and what they're doing in the observatory. And that's how they kind of find out they both have insomnia.
Yeah, so they find out that in the observatory that it's very peaceful and it's very easy for them to relax there, so they kind of want to make it their new safe haven so that they could try to get some shut eye there when they can. And in the process they're caught, and due to that they decide that they want to reopen the astronomy club so that they can use the room. And it's kind of fun because it's following them now, learning about astrology and how to run this club so that they can keep this place open for themselves. And that's where it seems to be going right now. I don't know how much it's going to target their actual insomnia, because after the first episode I don't really see too much of it. It's just them now trying to learn about astrology and how to keep their place open. But we'll see how that continues on, because they're also trying to keep it secret from everyone else. They don't want people to know that they're suffering from this. Do you have anything to add, Vinny? Albert?
No, it's very low key school drama. No supernatural stuff, superpowers. Just very much relatable if you suffer from insomnia, or if you happen to be the perpetual night owl who really cannot function during the daytime. So I feel for them.
Yeah, so I'm watching it. I liked it a bit. The first episode drew me in. It's very pretty. The animation's actually pretty good for a slice of life type show. And the first episode was much more like a wholesome version of Call of Night. So there's no supernatural elements, like Vinny said. It's just two high school students that find common ground because they're struggling with a condition. And then, because they are found out, like you said, Hank, they need to restart the astronomy club as a cover, because otherwise the teacher would have to report that she found them, lounging in the astronomy club area without proper authorization, right? So she covers them by saying they're interested in reopening the astronomy club and they need to learn about that. So it's a learning arc and everything. And I do want to say that Tank, astrology is pseudoscience. It's crap. It's just horoscopes. Astronomy is what they're doing, the actual science. So,
oh, my bad. My misspoke.
You're very bad. So they're doing astronomy and learning to seem like enjoy their high school life a little bit more by, in some ways, being forced into it. But by doing so, hopefully it opens up new paths for them. Like he is finally getting into, he has a nice camera, but he doesn't know really how to use it. So he's learning about that. He's learning about astrophotography. And probably needs to at least enter into, a competition that he doesn't want to, because he feels he doesn't know anything. But everyone is an amateur when you first start. That's the whole point of starting something new. So it's that leap that you need to take to challenge yourself into something new. And I think it's a really good job. The show does a really good job about portraying that. So I'm continuing to watch it.
Okay. Let's go to the next title. I'm going to skip that other one and go straight to Konosuba. Wait, is it? Well, would you still call it Konosuba, or is it has a different different little small thingy for it? Oh no, it's yes, Konosuba, an explosion in this beautiful world, which is I think it follows a spin-off.
Yeah.
So yeah, you guys can talk about that. I'm not really interested in this. So
What? How could you not be interested in Megumin?
I was a Darkness fan, not a Megami fan.
Oh, figures.
Oh, I mean, it's a spin-off and it's also a prequel, so you're not going to get the gang of Konosuba. You're not going to get the Damegami Aqua. You're not going to get the Meat Kazuma, and you're not going to get the Masochist Darkness. So it all hinges on whether there's enough interest with Megumin and her backstory. And you know what? So far, they're doing pretty good. I've watched 3 episodes. I haven't watched the latest. But the animation is the animation studio is different. It's not Dean. So but this is the studio that will be doing season 3. So but it doesn't seem to have taken a drop in quality. The explosions are still gorgeous explosions. And Megami is even more Megami. So this is, during her Chunibyo, her entire village is Chunibyo except for Union. So it's about Megami and Union and all her other classmates that you kind of saw in the Konosuba movie. So if you like Konosuba, check it out. I don't know if it will completely hold your interest because you lack that wacky four-group and team member interaction, right? Party member. But it's still enjoyable, and it's still funny. And like I said, it will you'll see if season 3 of Konosuba is going to be good or not. And so far, they're doing well. That's it.
All right. Did you guys want to cover the Maho Shoujo Magical Destroyers?
So briefly, if you haven't seen it, it's a weird show. It's also a anime original, which is the reason I picked it up. It wouldn't normally be my genre, but I started watching it, and at least the first episode was interesting. So this is a world where everything otaku culture is being wiped out by the government. So in some ways, this is like like Shimoneta, the world without vulgar or whatever the long title was. And so otaku culture is being destroyed, and out of all that persecution rises Otaku Hero and his 3 magical girls. Makes no goddamn sense, and that's part of it. Why it's ridiculous. I think it's a very self-aware anime, and it just is poking fun at itself at the same time as all the cliches and the tropes of the genre. And the 3 magical girls, you would think with the magical girl named Blue and Pink, the leader would be Red, but it's anarchy. They're definitely aware of what they're doing. Anyway, it's kind of a very wacky show. If you want to check out something original, something different, check it out. But it's not something that I would recommend. The OP is actually really good, though. Just the animation. Also, it's completely wacky. Like halfway through it, it goes crazy. So check it out.
All right.
If I were to make a kind of out there comparison, uh, would be that watching this first episode gave me something of a similar feelings to the one of the X-Men movie, The Days of the Future Past. I know it doesn't make sense, but just hear me out for a second. In that X-Men movie, it's where all the mutants are basically driven to extinction. And the first episode of the Magical Destroyer kind of plays like that, but except for the otakus in the Akiba. If that makes any sense, but that's kind of how I felt while I was watching the first episode. So there's that.
Nice. Next up, let's see here. What do we have next? This show, Mahotsukai something no Yome. Yeah, season 2. So this is a season 2.
Mm-hmm.
What do you have to say about it, Jessica?
That it's really good. And if you haven't seen the first season, go and watch that before watching this, because you will be completely lost. I was a little disappointed. There was a conversation that Elias and Chise have in the manga that is over a couple of pages, not panels, but pages, and talking about their motivations for doing what they do and discussing the benefits and drawbacks of going to this sorcery school. And the anime, it's just a couple of lines, and Elias basically tells her, well, you feel that you have to sacrifice parts of yourself in order to find a place to belong. So maybe you could go to this school and learn about yourself. And it kind of, I understand that in an anime, it probably wouldn't be very interesting to have a conversation like that take up a lot of airtime, but at the same time, it sort of robbed Chise of her agency. Because in the manga, Ainsworth says, or Chise is the one to say that I want to find out more about myself, and I think I can do it at this magic school. But one thing that the anime does that I do like is that they're calling these guys sorcerers, and in the manga, they call them alchemists. And that always confused me because what they're doing really isn't alchemy, and they're not using the Japanese word for alchemy either, so I have no idea why the manga team decided to choose alchemy instead of sorcery or mages or something along those lines. But that said, I'm really enjoying it. Production is gorgeous as per usual, and it's one of my top shows for this season.
Has it been like 2 years since it last aired, or?
Oh, it might be even longer because I think the first season was prior to the pandemic, which is how I measure all things now. But
It's definitely longer than that. But they did
Yeah.
have a couple of OVAs. So
Oh, that's
in the
true.
OVA, in the OVAs, they're already talking about going to the school. So I think some of it, this if it got robbed out of this first episode about going to school and the decision and all that, I think some of that was actually in the OVA material.
Oh,
So
that could be, yeah.
Yeah,
It's just a nitpick of mine is that the reason why I'm so honed in on it is that the relationship that Chise and Ainsworth have can really easily be become codependent and not a healthy one. But the manga and the first season of the anime did such a good job of handling it where they're both growing together and one isn't more reliant on the other than the other person. So I'm just very I look at that through a fine-tooth comb kind of, or a really critical lens, because it could really go off the rails if not handled well.
So I recently watched all that stuff. So I do remember that conversation, so it was probably in the OVAs.
Oh, okay, good.
But the strange thing is that I don't feel like the OVAs fit into the story properly. Because like even in that same OVA, they were getting the uniform made for her
Mm-hmm.
and it was delivered to her and she actually wore it at home. But in the anime, she picked it up inside her room as if it was her first time ever going there. That there was a standard uniform. It wasn't made to her size or anything like that.
It's really weird because the OVA that I watched, they were all the prequels about her life prior to meeting Ainsworth.
Oh,
So unless
there's a
there's
different one after that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's about 3 episodes long.
I will have to go and watch that then.
Yeah, I had to rewatch everything because I couldn't remember where I landed because I never finished it. And since season 2 is coming, I'm like, I better finish this right now and watch it so I can watch it with the group. And because I had seen episode 3 without any information, I was really lost as to why she looked the way she looked and some of the conversations they were having. But after rewatching all the previous stuff, it brought it together. And even my other friends were mentioning that they should have rewatched the show because they had forgot a lot of information. So I would kind of recommend maybe doing a skim through to get some of that information you might have lost or a lot of the conversations that they had.
And yeah, it looks like the anime television series started in October of 2017, so it's been a minute.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I remember watching that in theaters. But other than that, let me think. It's really fun and interesting, and I've learned a lot that I don't think ever that I couldn't remember and such. And I'm really interested in going back and reading the manga because I remember starting with the manga, and it was really fun. Do you know how close they are related in story wise, Jessica? Or
They're pretty close. Yeah, I would say they're pretty darn close with a few minute changes here and there in the transition from one medium to the next, but that it's pretty faithful in the way that it adapts. I did like some parts in the manga better. Again, I think there's a delicacy with how they handle the characters that isn't always present in the anime. But I do recommend checking out both of them if you haven't already, because it's a really good series.
all right, let's go to our next show, which is our first non-isekai fantasy setting called Mashal, which everyone was calling at the time when I was hearing it amongst people the Harry Potter of anime. And I have to say, I was heavily disappointed, but let's see what you guys have to say. Especially, I think Vinny's the only one that's fully caught up in watching it, right?
Am I? Oh goodness gracious! I don't know what possessed me to not just drop it. I guess it's just so trashy, just kind of a good time waster. The title is a the magic and muscles. So basically, think of it as a Harry Potter meets a One Punch Man. I think I've mentioned that once before, and that pretty much sums up nicely. A lot of things are pretty much creeped and sort of imitation version of a Harry Potter's magical world, except the main character cannot use magic because he was born with any ability to use a magic, and this world is heavily skewed towards the magic users. So his father, who adopted him when he was abandoned as a little baby, tried to raise him in secrets because in this world where if should anybody was deemed to be unable to use magic, they are properly disposed of. and then one of the government officials end up finding him because his love for certain confectionery sweets kind of made him blow his cover. And they made a deal that he was to enroll into this magical school and become the top student in exchange to sparing his life and his father's. And this story is all about how this magicless student can survive in this magic school, and he does it by basically using muscles. He's been training, pumping iron pretty much nonstop, and kind of like in One Punch Man abilities of being able to get it done just by sheer muscles. It's very absurd series. Drawing style is very much like a One Punch Man kind of thing, and I am just weird. I'm just surprised that A1 Pictures is the one who picked up this series because it really does not fit into most of the series they have done so far. They're kind of known to be more polished, prettier styles, and this is anything but. And for something that's absurd and really doesn't have a much deep thoughts into it, I don't know why, but I'm still watching it and just kind of laugh at the absurdity of it every week. It's one of those series.
Anyone else want to say anything? Because
I was just gonna say maybe I'll get to watching because I still haven't watched after that first episode. So, but because of what you said, Vinny, maybe I will come back to watch.
Okay, join the suffering.
don't do it. Save yourself, buddy. Let's go to the next title then. I think Albert mentioned this. What was it? The Megami no Cafe Terrace.
So this show, it's not good. I dropped it after the first one, and the censor bars and lights and all kinds of things are just ridiculous. So dude main guy is a university student. He comes back to his grandmother's owned house / cafe that he grew up in. But when he left on bad terms, and now that she's passed away, which is also really bizarre, because he would have been, as the only kin, he would have had to been involved with like funeral and all that, but apparently he wasn't, and he just comes back after everything is gone. So that's weird. So he enters the building, and there is a half-naked girl. He's like, what? And then she thinks he's attacking her, right? So he runs away. And this is like a Lavkina situation where he goes and opens up the next door. And why you would open up a door to a room to get away from her, I don't know. But there's another naked girl, and so on. So there are 5 girls that have been living here under her grandmother, his grandmother's protection, I guess. But he gets beaten up and tied up because they think he's a pervert, stalker, whatever. And it takes a while to let them know that no, I'm the actual owner of this place because I'm the grandson. And his plan was to tear the place down and make a parking lot because it's a beach town that he's from. But shenanigans happen and dumb things happen, and somehow he's convinced to at least try to see if the cafe will make it in the next year under new management, meaning his management. And then there's a bunch of stuff that happens that's just weird. Also, he says, I'll just take a year off from university. I'll pay the tuition, but I'll take a year off and manage this place. I'm like, what? That's not how things work. Okay, and you're struggling, and yet you have this money to pay a tuition. Where's this money coming from? I don't know. It's a bunch of weird stuff. So, it's supposed to be like a harem ecchi show, but it's not very good, and I can't recommend it. It was awful. The first episode was just awful. That's it.
All right. So, I only heard Albert said recommend.
If you want to, you should just wait for the Blu-ray release because the censor bars were just amazing. And I don't think there's an ATX version, so.
Okay, let's sorry. Let's see what else is there next. Oh, Mobile Suit Gundam, A Witch from Mercury season 2, right?
Watch it. If you watch first season and you like it, you'll still like it. It just the season kind of ended in this huge cliffhanger, almost, and then second season just kicks off, and it's not trying to retell anything. It just goes right into the story, and there's some really dark stuff that's happening. So, it seems like people who thought this was going to be, high school? No, not at all. There's a whole bunch of shenanigans going on in the background and attempted coups, attempted assassinations. People are now dying in mobile suit ways. There's battles. It is getting serious, and there is still a whole bunch of questions about the main character Soleta and her mom and what happened to Eri, who was her mom's first child. So I think all of those things are coming together. One of the most interesting things is the ED. The animation in the ED has a lot of things that to chew on, and people have done a whole bunch of analysis. But if you like first season, keep watching because it's awesome. And I need to go home and watch the new episodes.
So a whole lot of happy birthdays, huh?
Oh, too soon.
Yeah,
Too soon.
many of them.
Ooh. That'll come in because Elon number, I think he's 5, right? There's some weird thing going on in the OP where you see him in kind of a half profile, and on one side it's 5 and one side it's 4. So I don't know what that means.
Oh, yeah. Interesting. I didn't pick that up.
Yeah, because of the earrings, but there's something going on there too, and the entire Quiet Zero, Quiet Zero project is still it's slowly being revealed. I don't think that's the entirety of it, and I certainly don't think that's Prospera's entire shtick either, because there's something else going on. So lots of intrigue and lots of coming bloodshed, I feel like.
All right. Let's go to the next title, which I'm really interested in because I have no idea what it's about. My Home Hero. So Jessica's the only one watching this, which makes me wonder what this is.
This is weird. I haven't really seen an anime quite like this. It is about a man who's probably in his mid to late 40s as the protagonist of the show. So right there, that's pretty unusual for anime. He is married, and he has a daughter who's probably 19 or 20. So she's off on her own, and her boyfriend is physically abusive and pretty awful. So, long story short, the dad ends up murdering the abusive boyfriend. But it turns out that said boyfriend is a member of the Yakuza. And so the Yakuza start sniffing around, trying to figure out where this guy is. And so dad and mom are trying to clean up a dead body and lay low and not stick out and attract the attention of some very undesirable people. So this is, in short, a Yakuza crime drama. And what's so weird about it is that there's nothing about this that really screams anime to me. The fact that the protagonists are all older, that it's grounded in the real world with not any magic or superpowers. The guy's an office worker. He's not physically strong. He just has to use his brains and his love of true crime to try and get himself out of his sticky situations. So it's interesting from that regard. I would call it a curio, and that's kind of more why I'm watching it than anything else. Just that I could see this being a live action series that moms and dads would sit down to watch every week. Not an anime aimed at younger viewers or otaku nerds like myself. That's not to say it's bad or anything. It's just weird that this happened. So yeah, that's it. That's it in a nutshell. Yeah, that was pretty much my reaction after the first episode. Interesting. So I'm gonna keep watching it for a few more episodes, and we'll see if there's any hook beyond the premise. But I'm not sure that I will stick around for the whole thing. But I'll let you guys know either way. Well, let's see. No, I have not seen that. But yeah, I mean, my anime watching history goes back over 2 decades, and while I can never claim to have seen everything out there under the sun, that's just physically impossible. I am unable to recall a show that feels like I'm watching a live action more than The Flowers of Evil, which was literally a live action show that they rotoscoped over. The animation style is not like that at all, but what I mean is that it gives off that vibe of these could be real life actors and actresses on a set, and it would be identical in the way that it's framed, in the way that the dialogue is delivered, just all of that. It feels very live action to me. But I did a little bit of googling around, and it is based on a manga. So they do look like anime characters and everything, but even then, they're pretty subdued in terms of there's no crazy, flashy character designs. The murdered boyfriend was blonde, but that's a real human color of hair. So there's no pink-haired girls running around. Nobody dresses very outlandish. It's again, it's all stuff that I could probably walk into a Target or a Kmart and pull off the shelves. So it's weird. It's weird. If you're curious, check it out and let me know what you think. Yeah, let me know.
Mm.
Did Jessica watch it?
I have not, because it's on High Dive and I'm a cheapskate.
Hmm.
But
I
after
see.
your glowing review of it, or a brief review, I'm very much tempted to just get High Dive and watch it, because there's been a lot of buzz.
Yeah, it's hard to talk about the episode. So the first episode is an hour and 22 minutes. It's essentially a movie. And it ends in the place where you totally. I had not read the manga. I just knew that it was hype. I did not expect what happened at the end. And yeah, so this is also a weird show because it is written. The manga is written by I'm blanking on the name. It's the same writer for Kaguya-sama.
Yeah.
Us. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, but the manga is just he's the author, but he's not drawing it. He's actually declared that he's not going to draw. He's going to concentrate on writing. So anyway, yeah, it starts off as an idol. There's a doctor. He's a fan of I from this idol group, and he lives out in the country. So this is kind of like one of his few entertainments. And the reason he became interested in idols is because one of his former patients was super into I, and his former patient passed away. Right. So he ends up becoming a fan himself. And then one day he discovers that a young girl that has come in to his office to discuss, pregnancy and delivery is none other than the idol I. And despite his shock and everything, he decides to help her as much as possible to cover up, use a pseudonym and register at the hospital. But just as she's getting pretty close to delivery, he finds a strange guy, asks about I, and he realizes that this guy might be a stalker because she's here under a pseudonym. How does he know he's here? He chases him. The doctor chases him and then is pushed off a cliff and dies. And then is reincarnated as I's son, twin baby, a boy and a girl, and he's reincarnated as her son. That is bananas. And then it goes even more bananas after that. So, yeah, I highly recommend that you just watch it. There's so many goddamn spoilers. People do not know how to make, reviews or previews anymore. They're just using like the most shocking thing. And I would stay off the internet because of that. But I is voiced by Ria Takahashi. He was fantastic in voicing I. She is the voice of Megumi, Emilia from ReZero, Mash from Fate Grand Order, and was the voice of Tomo-chan and Anzu from Romantic Killer. So she is great, and it is not a pretty look at the idol. It is just looking at the industry and listing every ills and every dark corners and every bad thing that we only occasionally hear about. But it is crucifying the entire idol industry. So in that sense, it is also interesting at how much of that is revealed behind all these glamorous production and how poorly treated, how poor they actually are. They're not making any money. They have to put money up front. All of this. So it's a really dark look at the industry too, which is one of the reasons why I'm enjoying it too. But that's about all I can say without spoiling too much.
Oh, thanks for keeping it spoiler free for me, Albert. I do appreciate that. And hopefully by the time we do our season wrap up, I will have been on the Oshinoko train long enough to add to the discussion. Luckily, I don't have to worry about that because I am not on any kind of social media.
I believe the next one is Otari ni Ginga, I think. Yes. I think it was like Galaxy Next Door. Yeah, Galaxy Next Door.
I dropped it, so I've only seen the first 2 episodes.
I've watched 3 episodes, so I think I'm probably the it's it's more of a drama with just a little bit of a supernatural twist to it. And it feels much more like a shoujo, based on a shoujo manga than anything else, which I think is true. So yeah, main character, I forget his name. He is supporting his 2 younger siblings after their parents died, and because he is a mangaka, and he's doing okay. And financially, he's doing okay because his parents also owned a apartment, kind of a dorm, more like a dorm complex. So he has, 5 or so people who live in the dorms, and so he is, getting income from that and is able to be a mangaka. But his assistants have left him to pursue their own careers, and so he's struggling. And a new assistant comes in. She's hyper competent, is able to do everything that he asks her of. And then after an all-nighter where they finish something, he notices that she's got there's a pen that's sticking up, and she's about to roll over it, and so he goes to grab, to prevent her from sticking herself. Except it's not; it's actually a tail that she has. So that's the supernatural element. It's a little weird, but it's more of a romantic slice of life drama about getting to know each other now that their fates are kind of bound by his accidental by the accident, I guess. So it's it's laid back and more of a comfy style, but not exactly sure where it's going. I'm kind of on the fence about this, but it's compared to anything else that's out there, it's more of a relaxed feeling show. So that's why I'm continuing to watch it.
The premise harkens back to shows like Oh My Goddess and Video Girl I, where you've got a lonely protagonist who gets a top tier 10 out of 10 waifu just dropped in his lap, and she has magic powers and stuff, which was really, I don't want to say common, but it wasn't unusual for that to be the style of show in the 90s. And so I haven't seen one of these in a long time. Have you guys? Have I just been missing it? So it kind of felt almost a little bit nostalgic jumping back into this. But it's just not my cup of tea. I honestly thought it would be better if they didn't have the whole I'm a magical princess from another world, and now that you've touched my stinger, you have to get married me angle. But I did like that he was the sole provider for his younger brothers and sisters, and he's a manga author, and it shows how hard he has to work to do that. It's not a job I would ever want to do. So it does have some good things going for it. It's just not my cup of tea, that's all.
Yeah, I don't have anything else to add. Yeah, I can't recommend it at all. I think it's the show is crap for a couple of reasons. So one, I mean, it's magic, but it's still like a form of mind control, right? So not really into that. Second, he's a sexist asshole because there's a whole scene where he's like, "Oh no, girls shouldn't fight," right? And because he's commanding them, like one of the girls gets beat up because of him, but he's not doing anything. So this whole growth about I need to become stronger is offset by the fact that he's an asshole at the beginning. So I just cannot. I hate the protagonist. Um, so yeah, no, not I cannot recommend it at all. Sorry.
It really doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, I have it in my to watch list, but I just didn't get around to it. Um, yeah,
I love it. It's one of those handful of a shoujo series with a broad appeal that really caters to a lot of populations. Um, off my head, I can think of just a handful of them, like was that Megami Cantabiles, to certain degrees, from Meet You, those type of ones where its premises and the styles are very much shoujo, but it kind of is very even killed in drama, that it doesn't go really fall too much into the cliche. I mean, it does have a cliche as a comedic effect, but it doesn't lean so much to the point where you just cannot help but to roll your eyes over, okay, here we go with this drops and this drops and this drops. Main character is very likable, since she's not a superwoman. She aspires to be superwoman, but she has a plenty of a flaw. But that makes her very likable. And the dynamic between her and other characters, the classmates, is working out well. That she's that unintended glue that holds everything together. That's even the people who's not really up to getting to know her ended up very much becoming a good fast friends that she always had no problem making friends with. And those are the kind of things that makes it really enjoyable to watch it, and it's not so out there that's not unrelatable per se. um, I started reading this manga before the anime series came about, and I think there's up to about 6 volumes in US so far. And I just lent it to my sister, and she just kind of read it. It's like, this feels just like my high school. That's pretty much what she said. It's like, okay, I guess that's a good thing. I believe it's done by PA Works, and it's almost as if PA Works kind of bounces between one good one, then one dull, then just goes back and forth. And this so far is working out to be the good one. Very, I think this was the one of the first series that we watched in anime nights. And I kind of just dictated, we gotta watch this series first, and I'm glad that I did that. So I think everybody enjoyed it, and it's. I'm just looking forward to watching more of it. Yes.
Yeah, so this is one of those that's in Disney jail, so you're not going to be able to watch it, unfortunately. But it is a very interesting post-apocalypse wandering through Tokyo, and I like it because it doesn't treat the audience as dummies. So you don't get a lot of exposition, nothing's really explained. You're just thrust into the world, and you have to figure it out as the characters figure things out. So it is, there's there's two different stories that's going on. One is some sort of facility that is underground. It's a school with these kids, and they talk about not they talk about the outside, and that appears the outside is post-apocalypse Tokyo. There was some sort of disease or something that happened, and civilization has kind of fallen, and people are just living as they can. It's kind of like The Last of Us, and there are these monsters that appear and eat people. So it's done by production by G. The animation so far for the 3 episodes has been outstanding. There's a lot of mystery. I know it's based on a manga. I haven't read the manga, so I don't know. I don't think it's concluded. So I'm a little worried about that to see where it goes. But if you get the chance and you're in for a mystery sci-fi show, take a look if you can.
All right, I'd like to
That's it.
apologize. I guess I was muted for a while. I don't know how long on stream, so
So
I'm using 2 different mics, one for Discord and one for this, so I was muted on the stream, so hopefully you guys
so
got what we got from what other people said, but other than that, continue on, sorry. Is there anything else to say about the show, or? Vinny, did you want to talk about Idolmaster?
Oh yeah, just a bit, not a whole lot. Let's see. The Idolmaster Cinderella Girls U-149. So this is sort of a side story pseudo sequel to the Cinderella Girl chapter, which is the original, branched off from the original, the Idolmaster. So it's basically done through different production companies and whatnot. Main focus of this series is that the girls recruited to become idol tropes are all height of under 149 centimeter, which is short, very short. Probably, I think it's like under 5 foot. So they are mainly made out of grade schoolers, elementary schoolers, which raises a big freaking red flags for many reasons. Having said that, I'm a bit of sucker for the Idols series. I just generally find that their, production quality is better than other types. And its first episode is very good looking. It has that 80s style sort of a blurriness of the film graininess on the backgrounds shots. And animation looks gorgeous. It is simply regrettable that since the main characters are so little, it kind of gives a really uncomfortable vibes watching it. Even though there's really nothing else going on other than those girls trying to become the next, groups of idols, and even the production company that decided to greenlight the project done by the president was kind of feeling iffy about that. Do we really want to promote such a younger girls into the idol stage? So they kind of passed the buck around, and this rookie producer, who's just barely taller than those girls, became it. So he ended up pulling the short string and ended up becoming the project manager for these girls. So basically, he oversees uh, all the things that pertains to become an idol. So practices, group sessions, singing lessons, dance lessons, their scheduling, and all that. If you watch the original The Idol Master TV series, I believe that was done by A1. Early part of it feels very much like it. That you started off with introducing each girls, and they kind of go through each step of what it what it means to become an idol, or professional idols, and such. And those girls has all different quirks, and some are more childish, and some are trying to be more mature, and some of them has that weird gals trait to it, which kind of makes you wonder what the freak. So it's not really for everyone, and it's understandably so. But if you just like the series for what it is about idol groups, this is probably one of the better ones to watch. It's better than some of the other forgettable ones that came about a few seasons ago, like Idol, Pride, and such and such. I'll post the screen caps so that you guys have ideas to what I meant by that.
All right. The next one is another one you're into, Vinny, the marginal service. Is that something you want to cover?
Yeah, I could talk about a little bit.
Looks like it's you only again.
Weird, huh? Alright, so marginal service. Okay, so it starts with as main character Brian is the police detective who specializes in raids, gangs and drug trafficking and all that. And he kind of goes a little too far on his last mission, and he ended up getting fired. Then he was pretty much, wondering now what to do now that I'm fired from the job that I love to do. And he accidentally walks into his former boss who fired him, and then found out that his boss was something of a alien fugitive types who's engaged in illicit business. And he end up encountering this group that handles those extraterrestrial beings misbehaving in Earth. So he ended up being recruited into this group called the Marginal Service, and now he has a partner with a very uptight guys and try to make this work and hunt down something that's not human. That's the basic premise of the series. It's okay. I mean, I believe this is an anime original per se. So if you like those sci-fi action type of series, this is not a bad choice to watch in this season, since I don't believe there's really too many of those. So far it's better than Copcraft, but that's kind of low bar to get through, so take it with a grain of salt. Watch first episode and probably figure out whether you want to watch it or not.
All right. After that, we got Tonikaku Kawaii Season 2. Probably not much to say about this, right? It's just a continuation of Season 1, so you have to watch Season 1 to move on.
Yeah. Yeah, not really much to say. Like, I mean, it's one of those, like, on the other ones that we've had, like, a season 2, it's like, if you've watched, like, season 1 and you liked it, you're most likely going to be watching season 2.
So then after that, we have this. Oh, that you can't really see that, can you? Let's see if this one shows up better. Not really. But we got this. Watashi no Yuri wa oshigoto desu. Or Yuri is my job. What do you have to say about this, Jessica? Is Yuri your job, your show?
This is pretty dang funny, but I will say that most of the humor relies on two things. One is juxtaposition. So if you don't find juxtaposition funny, you're not going to get a lot of miles about this. And the other is knowledge of Yuri and more specifically Class S tropes and that kind of thing. So if you find the first thing funny, you could probably get by without needing to know about tropes in Yuri and stuff. But basically, each one of the characters on this show represents a Yuri or Class S archetype, and their outward persona, the one that they display at the cafe, is reflective of that trope and archetype. The humor comes in that they really are the complete and utter opposite of their specific trope. So Himeko is, I'm just the cute little kohai, I'm clumsy, tee-hee, all that kind of stuff. But in reality, she's extremely calculated, and her cuteness is all just a facade. she is not acting the way that she feels. She's very two-faced. In fact, a lot of the characters here are. I think it's pretty funny. I like this. And I'm looking forward to it. The animation is also really nice too. I don't know what studio is behind it, but it looks great. It's a pleasant show on the visuals, and the character designs are really nice too. So yeah, I'm having a good time with this. I don't know how realistic this type of cafe would be, because it's almost like dinner theater in a way, where they have active storylines that they're acting out. But I don't know, it something along those lines could exist, I guess. Oh, Vinny says it's by Passion, which I don't know what else they've animated.
They did Ishakoku Reviewers and that Labyrinth Harem show.
Okay, I haven't watched either of those then.
Those are like super, super edgy titles.
Huh.
Even Meiruko-chan.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think it's pronounced Passione, as in like the French pronunciation.
Oh, thank you, Albert.
But yeah, the main girl is voiced by Yui Ogura. So she does a lot of. I mean, she's actually really cute in real life. Cute is the word you describe her, and she does a lot of these cutesy roles. But so that was like one of the reasons I tried to watch it. And the first episode is, yeah, I wasn't into the juxtaposition. They're all like two-faced, and the fact that you know the owner, right? The lolly, who's actually the owner, coerces the girl to come work at a cafe. That was just like, this does not happen in real life, does it? And it just kind of took me out. And then I couldn't quite get into the rest of the acting dinner theater. Yeah, dinner theater is exactly what it sounds like. And how these people keep coming back to the main cafe, but you do see the customers change, but some of them show up again and again. So they're obviously interested in the story. I'm like, is this a realistic business model? But anyway, it wasn't for me, so that's why I dropped it.
That's sort of what I'm wondering, is that if you miss the storyline that they're putting on, how do you get caught up? Or are they enacting the same storyline every single day, so you could go once a week and get caught up and be okay? Or do you have to actually go there every single day it's open? Or maybe they're only open once a week. I don't know. The logistics of it are inscrutable.
No idea.
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much like this show because I am constantly thinking of Maria-sama Miteru, and the girl even looks like Sachiko, older sister. And so I'm seeing a lot of the same storylines that they're doing directly reference Maria-sama Miteru, which is one of the classic pillars, or it's the pillars of classic Yuri story. So I don't know. It's probably pretty darn niche.
All right. I guess not much else to add to that, right? It's just
You're gonna know if it's for you or not with the first episode. It's not one of those that, oh, you should give it a couple to see. No, you'll know. You'll definitely know.
yeah. All right. What else is next then? Oh, this show. I don't get why this show is popular. I mean, I admit I'm watching it because it's somewhat enjoyable, but I don't know why it's so popular. Which is the Yamada Kun to level 99 no Koi wo Suru. With my group of friends, everyone voted for this show almost, and I don't know why. Drag.
I mean, I don't know. I just think it's another kind of like cutesy, funny show. I think definitely like introducing the like because we're on episode 5 now, right? So we've gone and we've met like more people within the show because what it's based around off is the main girl starts playing a game because the guy that she likes plays that game, right? Or like who was her original like boyfriend was playing this game, and so she's like, "Oh, I'll get into that game because he likes it." And so she starts playing the game, and then she eventually joins a guild, or like it's a fantasy RPG game, and she gets into a guild, and so she meets guild members, but um eventually the boyfriend falls out of love with her, and so he breaks up with her and finds someone else, and so she's kind of devastated because she thought like this was the one for her, and we eventually it comes to a point where the game is holding like one of those like event shops, and so she decides to go out to the event, but then she sees her ex there with his new love, and so she's just trying to avoid him in any way, and she trips, and her shoe comes off, and I think did Yamada come to give her the shoe? Do you remember, Tank, or no?
Yeah, she actually bumped into Yamada, and that's when
Okay,
she fell and
yeah.
lost her shoe, and Yamada picked it up.
Yeah, and so that's when she meets Yamada, who is one of her guildmates, and we basically kind of just this is like the start of their interaction with each other, and from there, I think as her ex notices her, she acts like, oh, she and Yamada are dating, but it's just so that she can get out of the whole scenario of seeing her ex. And basically, we just kind of like start seeing her interaction with Yamada and then the other guild members because they eventually want to do IRL meetup. And it's just been a very like cute and funny like rom-com.
Yeah, so pretty much what Dragon said. Akane bumps into Yamada. Yamada is this very standoffish person, and he's actually a high schooler still. While she works. I can't remember where she works, but she's probably well into her young 20s because she's at least legally enough to drink. So,
She's in college, no?
oh, is she in college?
Yeah.
That's what me and Neo were discussing, and because the thing is, I was like, every time I usually like see her. Sometimes I see her in like almost like office like clothing. So I was like, wait, is she like just an office worker or is she in college? And Neil was saying that he remembers seeing her being in college.
Okay, so I guess she is a college student. But
Yeah. Sorry. Uh, you know, if right after she broke up with him and she was in funk and her friends visited her and was telling her to, start attending classes, otherwise she's gonna flunk this class.
Hmm.
So I think that kind of puts into the college kids.
oh, so
Anyways.
I must have missed that information. But yeah, so she meets like he said Yamada, but because of that first interaction, and later on, she ends up kind of running into Yamada quite often, and because of how Yamada is, it kind of feels like she's able to forget about her other problems for a bit and kind of do this stress relief with Yamada, while Yamada just sits there and does have this carefree attitude, like, I don't really, okay, why am I here? But we do find out Yamada is a gamer, a pro gamer, and that's why he plays games so much. And through this interaction, she's also meeting other guildmates and becoming good friends and trying to kind of see the upside to these new encounters after her boyfriend left her. So we'll see how this goes. If it's like any other, shoujo, I think this is like a shoujo book, right? It's probably just going to. It's probably going to end up with Yamada and Akane in a romance, but we'll see.
Yeah.
It's one of your typical things, but it's been somewhat decent, somewhat fun, and Kamota, the strawberry farmer, is the best guy in the show.
He's so funny. He's so funny. The most recent episode with him was so funny. I just loved him in it.
He's the man. He's the old man I aspire to be.
So it's enjoyable. It's I don't know if it's a recommendable show, I would say, because it's like any other shoujo show, I would say. And there's been a few of those online romance and stuff, right? That's been going on for a while. So
Yeah.
But
I think it was done by Madhouse, and their choice of a project is all over the places. That's all I have to say.
yes. But yeah, I wouldn't say disregard it, but it's an okay show. It's on Crunchyroll, so it's easy to get to. But other than that, if you're not really up to for another rom com, it's one of those things that you probably can skip. Wouldn't hurt you. But I guess that's it for the season, right? I mean, I don't want to go to the next one because Yusha ga Shinda is so stupid. I even quit that after one episode. Is that an isekai? I can't remember. I don't think it was, right?
Oh, no, it's not an isekai. It's just a straight up fantasy series.
Or maybe that's why I didn't like it, because it was an isekai.
Yeah, because it has the title isekai on it. And just a fitting is that series is done by Lead Film, and they're handling 2 projects this season. The other one being the Kimi wa Hokago Insomnia. So I think we know where most of the attention has gone to.
Yes. But yeah, that's probably why it didn't get me. Without that isekai element, there's just no way it can hook me. But other than that, once again, I think our biggest highlights for all of us here in our list was Yuri Is My Job. Next, we have Mobile Suit Gundam Season 2, Oshinoko, Kunikaku Kawaii Season 2, the Hokago Usanya, Konosuba, Demon Slayer, that Kami-sama weird one.
Kamikatsu.
Yeah. So out of this group, those are our top watch shows out of everyone. And other than that, I think we'll be done for today. I'd like to thank everyone for joining me. It's always
Thank
fun to
you
have
for
you
inviting
here.
me as always.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, other than that, I think I'll say goodbye to everyone. I hope you have a wonderful week, and we'll be back here for the end of the season. Do we know if there's any other movies coming out this between now and the end of the season, or is it just your typical Ghibli films?
I
I
have
think.
no idea
Let me
actually.
see. I think there's a movie called Lonely Castle in the Mirror that's coming out.
Yes, that's right. I remember seeing the ads for that in the more recent anime movies that
Mhm.
I've been.
And
That. Mhm.
I guess did you anyone want to mention? Did anyone see the Shinkai film? What was it called? Suzume.
Oh, Suzume?
Suzume. Suzume. I think a few of us watched it. I know you did, Tank. I did. Dragon,
I
did you did?
did.
Okay,
I
I think
did.
Alfred
Yeah,
did.
because
did.
I watched it before because I was gonna go to the Radwimps concert the next week.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Only question: did Jess watch it?
No, it's at my theater, but I didn't make it there this weekend.
Oh, is that still
I
airing? Though?
recommend that you go.
Okay.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Sub or dub, because my theater's showing both. I tend to prefer
Let's
subs,
both.
but
And either one is good.
okay.
Go to whichever one you can.
Mm.
All right, will do.
Okay, thank you guys, and that should be it. Good night.
Good
You know,
night.
Night.